Hey everyone, I hope you're well. This is the story about what if Naruto had a dark Otsutsuki Kekkei Genkai, and was Hamura's descendant. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel and like the video as well. So without any further ado, let's start the what if. The short moment of shock lasted far too long. While Obito's focus had been top-notch, much of it was lost as both his allies shouted out familiarity at Naruto. The pause in his focus caused a break in his Kamui blockade on Kakashi. And thus Kakashi managed to free himself from Otsutsuki Yakusu's grasp by usage of his own Kamui. The copy Nin quickly retreated and joined Naruto's side. The 6 cubified Naras stood before the duo, not having done anything yet. Shinzui Bunshin. Hamura. Obito repeated, displeasure written over his face as he glared at both Konoha Nin behind the 6 Naras. Care to explain, Zetsu, Garuru? But Naruto would have none of that as he quickly went to business mode. Kakashi, Hyo, deal with Obito. His eyes narrowed a great deal as he regarded Obito's strange allies. I'll be dealing with the other two. Kakashi sent a high amount of chakra into his eyes as the Nara started creating chaos all around with their shadow threads. Kakashi. Obito did not like the fact that he had to dodge all of the Nara's attacks because Kakashi was blocking his Kamui. Surrender. The Konoha Jonin coldly ordered. We have you completely cornered. You underestimate me. Obito's body was half infused with Mokuton, so he was quite tenacious. Meanwhile, Naruto stood before his 2 great-granduncles. Otsutsuki, I presume. The battle between Kakashi, Nara-hyo, and Obito was carrying them further and further away. You are able to create Shinzui Bunshin and you have a similar presence to our older brother, but you are not him. Zetsu concluded. So the same ability awakened in you? That is unfortunate. Oi. He's family, he can help us. Help you with what? He needed to know much more. He had no information about these two. Obito had approached Danzo in the past regarding the Uchiha coup d'etat, but the Warhawk never came across these 2 weird humanoids. Shut up, Yakusu. Zetsu ordered. Uzumaki Naruto is clearly not on our side, he will become our biggest enemy. Naruto sent them both an evil grin. The 2 of you have an ability similar to my own. He was ready for them should they make a move, but something else had him on edge. Someone else is here. Even Yakusu tensed up at that. You'd do well to pray he never wakes. Zetsu spilled. We had so much trouble cornering him. Him. Movement caught his eye and Naruto pointed at a struggling Obito. Your abilities aside, don't you need that guy to get out of here? Hasn't your mother told you to take care of your tools? While Naruto was extremely focused on any sudden attack coming from Yakusu and Zetsu, the 2 brothers were just as sharp. Obito's a good boy. Yakusu suddenly shouted out. But he's not the only one with space-time abilities. Enough. Zetsu interrupted. There's a reason you should always stay in the background, Yakusu. Black Zetsu focused on Naruto with sudden Sharingan eyes. I'll admit defeat if it means staying alive. Naruto glared as the 2 vanished, very similar to how Obito and Kakashi do. Kamui, then. We need to master that ability. Naruto muttered to himself. I won't be able to sleep properly if I know those 2 can always sneak up on me. The blonde turned his gaze to the only ongoing fight in the dimension. If Obito won and actually killed Kakashi here, they would be in trouble. But all the Uchiha could do was run for his life as shadow threads surrounded by Bija Chakra hacked at him endlessly. Enough. Using extreme speed, Naruto barreled straight into Obito and held the man's face in his right hand. Except, Obito saw him coming and managed to block with his arms, holding Naruto's own. Don't underestimate me, boy. Who's underestimating who? Red chakra raged through Obito's defenses. But the Mokuton was doing a fine job of resisting the volatile chakra. Kakashi was occupied with making sure Obito was still unable to use Kamui. That's when all 6 Nara Hyos used Bijou-enhanced Kage main to halt all of Obito's movements. The Mokuton sure is pesky, Naruto admitted as he stepped back from the struggling Obito. A Kage main would do nothing against it. But 6 of them? Powered up with some demonic chakra? That should do the trick. Naruto was not letting up as he glared at Obito. Getting past your Mokuton is not enough. Your Kamui can always save you when worse comes to worst. But we have that covered too, he said as he pointed over his shoulder at Kakashi. You're a difficult opponent, but it's over now. Who was still blocking his Kamui? We'll be taking that eye of yours, Uchiha Obito. Shimura Danzo is not a Jinchuriki. Were the enemy's words. He completely agreed with them too. What the hell was going on? Shikaku had taken Niji, Kadamaru, Kabuto, and Jirobu straight into the heart of the battle in Kirigakure, but soon came to see it had died down considerably. Root soldiers were resting here and there as most enemies had been dealt with. The only ones still alive were on the run. Or of course, in the shape of the 4 in front of them. The Mizukage and his 3 guards. Before he had come to stand face to face with the current leader of the Mist, Danzo had approached them and briefed them on the situation. Shikaku was baffled to see red chakra surrounding the Warhawk. Shimura Danzo. You are not an Uchiha. And again, Shikaku agreed with the Mizukage's words. What the hell was a Sharingan eye doing in Danzo's eye socket? Were they for sale or something? Indeed, I am neither. Danzo confirmed. Let's not dwell on these matters. In fact, Yagura and his guards prepared themselves. Let's just end all of this right now. Dragons made out of wood erupted from the ground around Danzo and headed straight for his enemies. Shikaku was at loss for words, but he could perhaps guess the Mizukage's next words. Shimura Danzo is not a Senju. That settles it. Kakashi was heaving in slight pain, crouching on the ground and holding his head. Opposite of his was Obito, much in the same state. Naruto had already dispelled his Shinzui Bunshin and was eyeing the dimension around him. Something still stings at me here. Be careful. Obito panted, still bleeding from his eye socket. He had given up on continuing the fight, despite there still being some left in him. Without his Sharingan eye, though, there was not much he could accomplish against these foes. Kakashi rose, now with 2 Sharingan eyes capable of performing Kamui. He still had to get used to them. It's a good thing I have more chakra at my disposal. Kakashi muttered as Naruto approached Obito. I don't know what transpired in all these years you were gone from Konoha. You are listed as a hero in our village, though. The blonde started. You were one of the reasons we won the war against Uegakure. You've proven your worth long before I was even born. The Uchiha was still panting on the ground. But we are to take you in as our prisoner. You too. Have to be careful. I don't know why, but here. Obito finally rose up, but still had to support himself on his knees. Kakashi, you need to take us out of here. The area is slowly draining chakra from us. Naruto confirmed. It drained at slow pace, so it was not too much of a concern for him. But why? For what reason? It's a sealed dimension created by Black Zetsu. Obito explained. The Uchiha sat back down again. He or I need to visit regularly to keep it up. Visit too long and the seal breaks. Visit too few times and the seal also breaks. What is sealed here? I don't know. Zetsu never told me. I just marked this place as my Kamui dimension. Without a Kamui dimension, you can't use Kamui. It went without saying that this meant this was also Kakashi's Kamui dimension. He's the one who took me here and explained more about the Dojutsu. Zetsu has a Kamui dimension of his own, though I don't know where. Obviously. Naruto was still curious to what was sealed here. And if Black Zetsu wanted it sealed, it might prove useful to him. Once seen or visited, I imagine your Kamui will remember. As a Sharingan's key ability is to remember. Obito nodded. Indeed, the curse of the Sharingan is to remember, forever. The man repeated melancholically and sighed as he stared at Kakashi and Naruto. It's over for me. Take me to Konoha, imprison me. We will talk there, Kakashi. I don't have anything to hide anymore. He was broken. And now with the loss of the Sharingan how could he hope to create a world where Rin was still alive? Naruto suddenly tapped the temple close to his own right eye. Don't think I can't see that weird seal you have around your heart, Uchiha Obito. That surprised the Uchiha. He can see Madara's seal. Does he have the Byakugan? Kakashi took both Naruto and Obito away with his Kamui. The Uchiha would explain everything in Konoha. The copy ninja realized it was much easier to control the Kamui now. Naruto eagerly wanted to revisit this dimension soon. It seemed to be almost beckoning him. Shikaku had pretty much been standing still when Naruto suddenly appeared right next to Kabuto. Danzo was handling the situation quite easily by himself. His Mokuton was keeping the Bijou Chakra the Yandere Mizukage was exuding at bay, and the Bijou Chakra around himself was protecting him from pretty much everything. The old Warhawk was also easily dodging all the attacks, despite probably not even having to. The Nara figured that was probably thanks to the Sharingan. Danzo. Naruto stepped forward, unafraid of all the ninjutsu flying around. We have captured Uchiha Obito. Let's wrap things up. Leave the rest to Terumi Mei. The older man retreated from the battlefield and landed in front of Naruto. They're formidable. Separately, they are abysmal. Naruto regarded Danzo's opponents. 3 of them were about to drop unconscious, pure willpower was keeping them up and standing. They would fall without having to do anything. The only one still ready to go was the Mizukage. A Jinchuriki had loads of chakra, after all. These 3 swordsmen of the mist. He wanted them. They were ripe for the taking, too, being almost out of chakra. Karatachi Yagura, the Yandere Mizukage. Seems Danzo's done a solid job absorbing most of the Sanbi's chakra with his Mokuton. I would say surrender, but what's the point? Naruto chuckled as Danzo, Kabuto, Jirubu and Kadamaru were all dispelled, taken back in. This left Nara Shikaku and Hyuga Niji standing behind Naruto, the former 2 gaping at the sudden vanishing of Danzo and the other 2 guys. Yagura was standing strong, his 3 guards Kushimaru Kuriere, Amuri Ringo and Jinpachi Munashi were barely conscious. What's going on? Yagura was worried. He never expected Konoha's Warhawk to be this strong. He was being pushed back while going all out. And he had 3 guards on his side. But then a young blonde kid shows up and Danzo backs down. And then mentioning Terumi Mei. So Konoha had sided with the rebellion? So many questions, so much confusion. He wanted to speak, but then more than half of the shinobi enemies in front of him vanished. Yagura was about to just rush at them and kill them, but the Sanbi was restless inside of him. Be careful, human. That's no normal human boy. So the Mizukage carefully weighed his options. What's going to happen now? The blonde boy tilted his head in curiosity. You're dropping your guard. Realize the futility? You obviously allied yourselves with that demon woman Terumi Mei. Yagura was far from amused. Pot kettle story, really? You've been used, Moto Mizukage-sama. A certain genjutsu was used on you, this one truly powerful. I do not have the tools to undo it. You are being affected by it, even now. But of course. Yagura skeptically let out. Am I to believe a random Konoha ninja? It matters little what you believe when you're on your deathbed. Naruto was eyeing his 3 guards. I have no interest in a history repeat, but it almost seems inevitable. Naruto seemed to be struggling within himself on what to do with Yagura. You have me. I surrender. I don't wish to be taken in by Terumi-me. I sense the rebel force approaching. The mist leader sighed in disappointment. I now know. Alright. We will take you captive. Naruto seemed to ponder with himself, but then turned around and met Shikaku's gaze. I am sure we will find a use for a former Mizukage who carries a bijou within him. Yagura was out of juice and had no fight left in him. He turned around and gestured towards his guards. What of them? The three swordsmen of the mist had already lost consciousness. The fight with Danzo took everything from them. They'll... He threw Yagura a sinister look. They'll be fine. Niji almost felt like he had been holding his own throughout the entire mission. He had fought maybe 5 Kirinin as he was following after Shikaku, but they had all just been cannon fodder. Barely genin. And now that he was standing in front of a Kage, admitting defeat and surrendering to Uzumaki Naruto, whom he had fought in a Chunin exams not too long ago, he just didn't know what to do with himself. Trust me, you're not the only one who feels out of place. Shikaku was lighting a cigarette as Naruto approached Yagura. We'll be traveling back to Konoha with them. He closed his eyes, sighed and faced Niji. I don't know what he plans to do with the Oth. Their chakra vanished. The same as what happened to Danzo and that Kabuto guy and... What was his name, Jirubu? Shikaku quickly turned around, but all who were left in the clearing were him, Hyuga Niji and Uzumaki Naruto. What? What did you do? It was impossible. Where did all 4 of them disappear to? Niji also missed what had happened as he had been focusing his attention at Shikaku, who had been talking to him. We'll have to leave. Naruto didn't answer the question. The rebel force is very close, and I am not in the mood to deal with the shitstorm. He exhaled forcibly, before slapping himself on the cheeks. I used a lot of chakra, and I am in a bit of a doozy right now, but... Shikaku understood, the blonde was going to use Hiration to take them all back. But the Nara also saw that Naruto was struggling with himself for some reason, and panting. Bear with me. I might not be in a too good mood when we set foot in Konoha again. Shunshing between Shikaku and Niji, he performed the Hiration. Ho! Hokage-ase. Ma! Chakra was wildly raging around the boy. The third wasted no time, ignoring the 2 other shinobi who had appeared alongside Naruto in his office completely. Senshin, Shunshin. He did not like it, but he had to. It was nowhere close to the Hiration, which transcended time and space, if only momentarily. The Senshin Shunshin was about 10 times faster than the Shunshin, stretched the muscles beyond their limits and desperately required the opening of the first 4 celestial gates. Sarutobi Hiruzen was the professor, he knew almost all jutsu. Opening the gates was easy for him, but not something he enjoyed doing. He did not like the advanced body flicker, because chances of him slamming into a wall or tree were just too high. His eyes could keep up with the normal body flicker easy enough, but the advanced one was an accident waiting to happen. He picked a route out of the Hokage's office window he knew blindly, but protected his and Naruto's body with chakra nonetheless. Though he was pretty sure Naruto didn't need the protection with all the chakra he was exuding. What the hell happened? The duo slammed through a wall and ended up in a cave. Hyuga Niji and Nara Shikaku. Those 2 were still in his office, he recollected, after the adrenaline calmed him down slightly. Naruto was panting on the ground, chakra burning the walls of the cave ravenously. What ha? Sanbi. Kyuubi. Chakra. Clash. Gogi Fuuin. Erg. The third was still on high from the 4 celestial gates and didn't bother removing clothes to reach Naruto's stomach to close the access point of Bija chakra on Naruto's seal. The blonde lost consciousness, but the third immediately noticed the paleness of Naruto's skin. So, you went and absorbed Karatachi Yagura and the Sanbi? Even I know that would cause serious backlash. He muttered to himself. The Gogyo Fuuin blocks the Bija chakra from being formed outside of the chakra source. It by no means stops it from being harmless. I will need Jiraiya and Inoichi for this. Hokage-sama. The third was impressed as he swiveled around. Seems you don't lack stamina, Shikaku. I underestimated the Nara's tenacity, perhaps. No. Shikaku was hacking and gasping away, leaning on the open crack leading to the cave they were in. No underestimating, I believe. He could barely stand straight, the third noticed bemusedly. Niji arrived seconds later, also out of breath. He's fine for now. We'll take him to the Sealing Core Division. I will take him there and guard him should anything happen. They were about 3 miles outside of Konoha. We are not safe yet. Uzumaki Naruto should be considered a bomb right now. Shikaku, find Jiraiya as quickly as you can. I summoned him about a week ago, he surely is somewhere in Konoha. Yamanaka Inoichi's presence is also required. Return to me with both of them. Shikaku was off instantly. The third turned to the young Hyuga Niji. Niji-kun. I am sure you did well, but I believe it's best you return home. You. Ugh. The young genin coughed out, he hadn't spoken in so long. Understood, Hokage-sama. Despite the obvious skill, the genin seemed to be failing in finding his own footing as he scurried away from the cave. Hiruzen sighed and turned to the still heavily breathing blonde boy on the ground. The old man bit his own thumb. Kuchios no Jutsu. The great Monkey King, Enma, appeared before him. The summon was about to lecture his summoner on summoning him for nothing after seeing no immediate danger, but held it in completely as he saw the boy on the ground. Hiruzen. This boy. What did you see, Enma? War and anguish. Enma's gaze hardened. Orochimaru is nothing compared to this. The king of monkeys had the eye of premonition. The Yakaka no Mi, here, henge. The elder monkey had transformed himself into the adamantine staff, which Hiruzen easily caught. One eye formed on the staff and holding it, Hiruzen was able to feel what the Yakaka no Mi saw. I sense hopelessness from the boy, Hiruzen. Despite being an adamantine staff, Enma could still speak. I don't understand what I am feeling though. It's unsure whether he brings forth catastrophe, or if he is the one to stop it. Let's pray for the latter. Hiruzen sighed as Enma changed back to his original form. He smells very old, Hiruzen. Enma started as the old man carried the boy on his back. Something is very wrong with this one's body. I believe I'll take that as an understatement. Now, follow me. I might require your strength and above all, experience. This was not how I planned on meeting my godson. It can't be helped. I don't mean to boast, but my observation skills are at a very high level. Your godson reveals so much that it's actually blinding me. It's very confusing, so I don't know exactly what I know, or what I believe. The only thing I know for sure is that he's reckless. I could have told you that before he was even born, Shikaku. Jiraiya half groaned. So, this fever thing he's experiencing right now, is because of the Gogyo Fuuin? Inoichi and Hiruzen had both quietly been observing Naruto so far. The Monkey King Enma stood by the Sandaime's side. They were in the building of Konoha's sealing core. Right. The room is sealed completely. No sound or chakra or movement can escape the room. I will be sharing with you S-ranked classified information. Don't underestimate me, old man. Hiruzen lifted an eyebrow at Jiraiya. I am Konoha's information gatherer, after all. This goes especially for the happenings inside Konoha. The legendary Toad Summoner puffed out his chest. This is about the Shizentuda, right? Both Hiruzen and Inoichi turned impressed, while Shikaku stayed confused. I've done some more research on his uncanny ability. Jiraiya started. It originates from before the time of the shinobi. His ability existed once before us humans could use ninjutsu. What are we talking about? Does it have something to do with how Naruto made the Mizukage and 3 of his guards disappear? Shikaku did not want to be left out of the loop. It does. The third picked up from where Jiraiya dropped it. Naruto has the ability to absorb people and their abilities. Nara Shikaku was at loss for words. And it remained. The only place that might have information about this is a place I'd rather not visit. The 3 other Konohanin in the room were curious. What place did Jiraiya not want to go to? A place with no bathhouses? Aim? Iwa? Yugakure? It's where I am originally from. Jiraiya grumbled. It's very unpleasant there. This surprised almost everyone in the room. Even the third didn't know where Jiraiya came from, but it seemed the hermit found out after all these years. We'll talk about that later. Let's perform the Gogyuken now. In case he explodes. Perhaps it's smart you get ready to deal with it, Jiraiya. I'll bind him with my shadow as well. Shikaku performed the Kage main and bound Naruto to his own movements. I am also ready to end any hostility. Enma seemed concerned as he eyed the boy on the bed. _= happy face, / flashback memory start, / happy face += =. Why? Why isn't he waking up? This was the voice of Chome, he remembered. He passed. He is part of that now. Matatabi let out in genuine sadness. If enough experience is gained, I might be able to find him. Papa, wake up. Shikaku, obviously. It'd do you no good, Matatabi. Even using your normal skills weaken you greatly. Gyuki murmured gently and warningly at the same time. Father. How can he have such faith in the beings that caused him to deteriorate? His own human sons are proof of futility. Kurama grumbled angrily, but the fox was also crying. All the bijou were seated around an old man. He was looking through the eyes of Isabu, the Sanbi. I am Isabu. Naruto watched the memory fade away. _= happy face, / flashback memory end, / happy face += =. The scenery in front of him changed into a more familiar one. Kurama sitting in front of him, seemingly in a dark void. He himself was also standing on a floor he could not see. Your body is being attacked in the real world. By bijou energy. A human body and a bijou body are too different, you were too reckless. Absorbing a Jinchuriki means you also absorb the bijou, in this case Isabu. What's happening in the real world? Naruto asked urgently. The Shizentuda has shut down. Somehow our connection was cut some time ago, but we linked up again a few seconds ago. I suspected jutsu was used to block my chakra coming in through the Shiki Fuuin on your stomach. Done in panic and distress. Naruto nodded. I remember. The third Hokage used the Gogyu Fuuin on me. It did little to your problem. It simply knocked you unconscious. The Sanbi's existence is still eating at you. Were you not a descendant of the Otsutsuki, you'd have died already. What can I do? Nothing. Perhaps hope your body somehow alters into something both human and bijou-like. Nothing's changed. Perhaps it will as soon as he wakes up. Enma's eyes were narrowed dangerously. Creases in his forehead suggest conversation is active. You mean there's definitely something going on inside Naruto? Hiruzen asked in slight panic. He's a Jinchuriki. His mindscape is actually highly active compared to the average human. Enma seemed to explain. You say the Sanbi was somehow absorbed? The Monkey King looked very troubled. I've heard tales of the Black Apple. It's the infamous tale of self-destruction. The third summon eyed the unconscious Naruto warily. It all comes down to the one thing all humans have in abundance, in one area or another. Jiraiya nodded knowingly, having heard of this exact same tale. Greed. The white-haired legendary hermit looked a bit troubled. It's curious. I've come to know of this story of self-destruction as I was closing in on my origins. Yugakure. Inoichi, Shikaku, and Hiruzen were pretty much listeners in the room. I assume you know how that village was founded, Jiraiya-kun. The monkey had worked alongside Jiraiya often in the past, the two were friends. You must have been unwanted. The word didn't hurt Jiraiya. In fact, it seemed to shine relief on him. I am 51 now. I am fairly certain I have grown older than both my parents. It will be very weird to see them. Shikaku looked the least confused in the room, but still very much. What was happening? One moment he was walking away from Marino Ibiki after handing him an unconscious Uchiha Obito, the other he was down on the ground. He knew this feeling very well, but this shouldn't be happening, right? Chakra exhaustion. Was having two Sharingan eyes really that much of a drain? What are you doing? Kakashi? Great. Mitarashi Enko. Not the person he wanted to see right now. Are you taking a nap? Can't mold. Chakra. Kakashi managed despite being close to passing out. Two Sharingan. Can't deactivate. Closing his eyes helped a lot, but the Sharingan still drained chakra. Passing out here would be extremely dangerous. The Sharingan would continue draining chakra non-stop. They will drain all other things not chakra if there is no chakra left. It was a requirement of him to have full chakra reserves before he goes to sleep. Kakashi was not the type to panic easily, but this situation was quite stressful. Chakra binding? Enko crouched to take a closer look. Here. This might help for a bit. Gratefully, Kakashi wolfed down the two soldier pills. That would last him about a minute or 5. But what was going on? Was Obito's Sharingan eye booby-trapped? You ran into Danzo or something? Enko plopped down on the ground next to the struggling Kakashi. Pick your battles, man. She was eating dango, happily sitting next to his failing body. I'm no good right now. What are you saying? I have no access to my chakra. Tenzo looked nonplussed, not that anybody could see that behind his Anbu mask. Did someone tag you? Definitely not. Omino Iruka was confused. He fell down from a tree while tree climbing with chakra. They were on a high-ranked infiltration mission in Uegakure. We can't afford to waste time here. Hide. We will find you. While his high-ranked elite Anbu team snuck into the grounds of Tsuchi's daimyo, the former Chunin teacher hid. In the bushes. Many genin all around the globe had the same situation as both Iruka and Kakashi. The genin that had miraculously survived the Chunin exams months ago in Konoha, with no recollection in any way of what had transpired during the second test. Meanwhile, Kurama was doing his very best to do what he could to keep Naruto's body from tearing apart from the burn. On the outside, not much was visible. He looks like he has a fever. Being a Nara, his observation skills were as always, top-notch. Something is definitely going on. Bija chakra is working under the surface. I can feel it. Enma informed. There's struggle. Jiraiya was tempted to activate Sage Mode, knowing he would then be able to sense the same things Enma was feeling. It doesn't seem like he is on the verge of exploding anymore. The third tentatively ventured forward. No, he is. The summon boss finally understood the situation. He had been mulling over things for the past few minutes. I believe the young Naruto, a human, has tried to absorb the Sanbi. Not a human. It's a clash of human and pure chakra. He seemed less worried. He's been a Jinchuriki since birth. Exposed to pure chakra, Bija chakra. And of the strongest of the Biju no less. I believe it'll take some more time, but he should be able to persevere. Just another normal day. Academy students running being late for school, cats purring in random alleys, old ladies walking around asking for directions, and the occasional shunsen here and there. It was fine, really. Just what was up with that huge turtle appearing out of nowhere? Aya Michiraku grew up in a shinobi village and had seen her fair share of bizarre things. She was too young to remember the Kyuubi rampaging through the Leaf Village, but she could imagine it was about the same size as that turtle. With its appearance, it had already destroyed a building. Now it seemed it was being restrained by shinobi throwing around weird jutsu and a giant toad holding it back. And was that a monkey with clothes on? This is a state of emergency. An Anbu. They rarely showed themselves. Move to the shelter. Follow me. Very well done, Naruto. But you still have more to do. Help my little brother get out safely. Kurama had a worried look on his face. He's strong, but he will not survive all of Konoha fighting him. Naruto was struggling to stay awake as chaos ensued around him outside of his mindscape. Not what I expected. Hiruzen looked very much grim as he stared at the struggling Sanbi. He agreed with Shikaku. Seconds ago, a massive amount of chakra was suddenly expelled from Naruto and it reformed in front of their eyes into the three-tailed Bijuu. Jiraiya and Enma should be able to handle it. The Anbu are already safeguarding the areas around us. Wait. Inochi, Shikaku and Hiruzen all looked down at the recovering Naruto, who was gasping and should clearly be out cold. He's not an enemy. Give me a soldier pill. All of Konoha fell silent as the humongous three-tailed beast remained calm. Those close by could see him staring down at a young blonde boy. How dreadful. Its voice echoed over the entire village. To think the black apple has resurfaced. I pray you won't be sunken by it. Moving it through Hiration will take chakra I don't have at the moment. Naruto turned towards the people behind him. Jiraiya, Hiruzen, Inoichi and Shikaku. He won't hurt anyone. But he's big. He will leave peacefully. I'm afraid we can't just ignore a Bijuu, Naruto-kun. The blonde Chunin did not like the hard looks on their faces. There is only one option. Isabu thundered from above. Inside Naruto, Kurama agreed. You humans use Fuuin jutsu to seal Bijuu. It's confusing. The young Chunin understood, of course. Normally it would be impossible to seal a Bijuu in an aged human because of developed chakra coils. But Naruto was already a Jinchuriki, his chakra coils were already adapted. The Shizentuda doesn't work on Bijuu. Hamura tried this in the past as well. It is how we managed to defeat him. Us Bijuu, however, can also choose to enter humans freely. We can make humans Jinchuriki. We can also get out whenever we want to. The human dies after we leave them, though. The Fuuin jutsu traps us. Of course, they couldn't enter any ordinary shinobi. They'd have to be either familiar with Bijuu chakra or have enhanced their chakra in some way. Lineage helps, as well. Otherwise, the human will simply explode. Before their very eyes the Sanbi seemed to morph into chakra, shrink and somehow get sucked into Naruto. Although the Sanbi could be seen by the entire village, only those standing close saw how it entered Naruto. Basically only Inochi, the third, Jiraiya, Shikaku and one elite Anbu team. In the real world, Naruto passed out as he became a multi-Jinchuriki. Inside his own mindscape, he was fine. So you're still trapped in me, Kurama? No. I can also get out whenever I want now. That's what happened when you removed the seal on that insufferable gate in the past. So? I know I'm new here, but who are they? Sitting next to the Kyuubi, the Sanbi was motioning towards nothing. Or to Naruto, it was nothing. The two Bijuu saw two chakra shapes. Yes, I believe the temporary deactivation of the Shizentuda finally gave them time to resurface. What? I see nothing. Kurama snorted. The Shizentuda is blocking them. You can't see them because they are a natural threat to your ability. They're entities inside of you, but not because of the Shizentuda, and they're not pure chakra entities like we are. They seem to have been restricted somehow. I believe if you deactivate your Shizentuda for a bit, you should be able to see too. Isabu suggested. Naruto nodded. So who are they? If I judge from chakra smell, I would say they are your parents, Naruto. Kakashi, Iruka, and all others revived by Rina Tensei were fine again. The copycat was stopped mid-shunshin by an elite Anbu team guarding the area where the Sanbi appeared. Hatake Kakashi, by decree of the third, no one is allowed to approach any nearer than this. This was the reason almost no one saw what had actually happened. I believe one of my students is involved. Yes. The Anbu captain nodded. And the situation is being handled. We've been informed that Uzumaki Naruto is fine. I wonder what the hell happened. Kakashi thought as he chose to just wait it out with the Anbu team. I guess I am still somehow linked to Naruto, then. Hiruzen. The aging leader of Leaf almost shuddered at Enma's serious tone. I request that boy's presence in my homeland. It cannot be ignored. The summon chose to elaborate as he saw his summoner's serious expression and the decline on his lips. My masters will be able to help him. His body has been changed drastically. Before Hiruzen could ask about the fact that he never knew Enma the Monkey King had masters, Jiraiya cut in. Wait, you're going to offer him your services, Enma-sama? Perhaps. Enma nodded. But more importantly, one of my masters once worked for the first Black Apple. I want Jiraiya to come with you. Hiruzen requested. I believe it's time you take an active role in his life. I agree. Very well. I never thought he would ever be in this position ever again. I agree. It's hard to imagine anyone could beat him here. Umino Iruka was a bit confused. He was no longer part of Naruto, so he didn't know what happened on the blonde's latest mission, but it had to be big. We came back after he absorbed us. But it seems we will still die. If he dies. The copycat was unsure. Perhaps only he would die, because he had 2 Sharingan eyes. So if Naruto would die, the only way to survive was to gouge his own eyes out? Or perhaps less savage, cover them with cloth once again. The 2 teachers of Naruto stood overlooking the Kyuubi Jinchuriki currently bedridden. Oh, and of course, he was now also the Sanbi Jinchuriki. We'll have to ask him about it. I've heard he has a mission as soon as he's able to move, though. Hokage-sama told me his presence is required in the realm of the monkeys. May I ask you two a few things? Iruka and Kakashi both turned around to see Shikaka closing the door behind him and entering the room. Hokage-sama has seal-proofed this room to activate as the door closes, so no need to worry about classifications. I know about the Shizentuda, too. They both weren't surprised at all. This was Nara Shikaku, after all. How does he know the Hiraishin? That's easy. Danzo always wanted his hands on the technique, but lacked too many things to completely be able to perform it. Naruto's the Yellow Flash's son and the formula works for him, mostly. The chakra cost is much more because it's diluted blood. Danzo took all that was known about the Hiraishin. And you know. Iruka continued. The Yandame's old protection squad knows a combined execution of the Hiraishin, which Danzo also has had his hands on. Danzo was also an expert in Fuuin jutsu. It didn't take too much tinkering with all the knowledge that was available because of the Shizentuda. It certainly helped that Naruto has also absorbed a Nara. What? Shikaka's eyes were dangerously narrowed. It's not Naruto's fault. Kakashi tried to placate, and Iruka shot an apologetic look. Danzo took Nara Hyo from the academy a long time ago. You can kill the old man for that, but he's already dead. I see. I already knew what had happened to Hyokuin. There was no proof and Danzo got away with it. Shikaku lighted a cigarette. Ah. No smoking allowed in the hospital, Narasama. I'm sure all three of you will be fine, Iruka. Kirigakure is in chaos, but it's clear that the rebel force under Terumi Mei has taken control of the lands. But even she knows little of what has transpired there. The Toad Sage was relaxing in a chair in the Hokage's office. The Akatsuki is also at loss on what to do. The members haven't lost their leader, but their leader did lose his master. It'll take time for them to reorganize themselves. Yes, Terumi Mei has requested many things, including a meeting with me. This request included the suggestion of taking Naruto, Kakashi and Danzo with me. You have anything else? Well, I think news has spread somewhat of Konoha being suspicious around its own regions. My closest seal traps haven't gone off, but a few distant ones have been set off. Uegakure in particular is nosy. Oanoki won't be reckless. He has too much to lose. What of Orochimaru? Sunagakure is his now. That idiot is in control of the Great Five and has a minor village as well. Though Sound has taken quite a crippling blow a few months back. I don't know what he's up to, but he knows of my security seals. I wouldn't be surprised if he still has spies working for him here in Konoha. Yes, I also wouldn't think it far-fetched to find a sudden alliance between him and Iwa or even Kyumo. Perhaps a Kage meeting is in order, after all. But Orochimaru might be attending that, too? The Sarutobi shook his head, indicating he didn't know how to deal with it yet. He turned to something else instead. Enmasama wants Naruto and you and Yakiyama as soon as possible. Che, that sucks. I'll need the kid to up his poison resistance as well. That won't be necessary, as I suspect he has higher tolerance than even you. The third changed subjects again. Danzo has informed me of one other mission Naruto wants to finish and it involves Akatsuki. Jiraiya sighed. That kid really loves trouble. How old is he again? You're his godfather, I should be asking you that question. So, what's he want? Both Danzo and Naruto believe one of our recent captives, Sabaka no Gaara, is an Uzumaki. They managed to track down his lineage. The Shikaku Jinchuriki is actually related to Akasuna no Sasori, a Fuinjutsu expert and Kugutsu master. Jiraiya chuckled. So they want to face the man able to puppeteer 100 puppets at once? I guess his poison specialty won't be a problem either. Gamabunta won't want me to summon him for puppets, though. Jiraiya put a hand to his chin. If Naruto will have the summoning contract for the lava apes, I might want to steer him in the direction of the poison toads as well. I leave Naruto in your charge for a month, Jiraiya. After that, I believe we will have a new Jonin in Konoha. The third watched Jiraiya rise from his seat. Be careful dealing with the Akatsuki, as always. One thing, though. It seems Naruto wants Akasuna no Sasori alive. Patience was one of his stronger traits. He was proud of it, too. He stood, overlooking new ground he had procured some months ago. Of course, there was incentive from many directions. Necessity and survival. But those who wanted a job done well, needed to respect time more than anything. And thus, he stood, looking at brand new buildings, training grounds, even hot springs and many other facilities. I must admit I was rather surprised you needed me on an 3-month-long S-ranked mission, in Konoha. At first, at least. Your skill is invaluable. Danzo inclined his head towards him companion. You've performed exemplary, indeed. It would have been impossible to finish without your help, Danzo-sama. I never would have thought you possessed the Mokuton, as well. Danzo knew Tenzu would not spill the beans of this to anyone. The two only Mokuton users in Konoha had put in a lot of effort into creating a new estate in Konoha, increasing the size of the shinobi village even more. They had to tear down the northern gates and then rebuild them several miles further north. Very close to the Valley of the End. This will be the Uzumaki estate. Danzo named the grounds. Of course, Not only Uzumaki will be staying here. Tenzu wryly smiled. Of course, otherwise there would only be one person. On the contrary, Konoha houses several Uzumaki members. Danzo sent the Anbu captain a calculating look. Tenzu, you've always lived without a clan name. Although you are not familiar with Uzumaki Naruto, he wishes to speak with you very soon. I have been given permission to inform you that he wants to grant you the Uzumaki name. Danzo held up a hand to keep the other man from talking. I know. It seems very odd and unexpected, but perhaps you should speak to the boy first. Uzumaki Naruto. One of my subordinates speaks very highly of him. You should probably know he is my superior. Tenzo blinked. Sir? Currently, the Uzumaki clan only had 11 members. Uzumaki Naruto was the clan head, though he left most matters to Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. Uzumaki Tayuya was a former sound nin turned leaf nin and held the rank genin, undeservingly. The loss of the curse seal had set her back big time and she needed to restore her chakra capacities. She was very talented in genjutsu and held the summoning contract for the blind ogres. Uzumaki Karen was a genin as well. She was a former kusanin turned Konoha nin. She possessed the mind's eye of Kagura, which surpassed every other sensor abilities in the shinobi world. The girl also had the peculiar ability to heal people once bitten. Uzumaki Haku was actually Yuki Haku, but his original name would actually bring forth more trouble than it was worth. He was also a genin, but was of a much higher rank in truth. He possessed the Hayatan Kekkei Genkai and was advancing in its art. Uzumaki Gaara, formerly known as Sabaku no Gaara, was a shinobi on probation. Together with his siblings Uzumaki Temari and Uzumaki Kankuru, they were being integrated as Konoha shinobi. All three carried no specific rank as of yet. All three were also still being continuously monitored by Root Anbu. Uzumaki Hyo, formerly Nara Hyo. Naruto was rapidly advancing and evolving his Shizentuda abilities, even being able to alter smaller genes, appearances, voices, even chakra presences, but most importantly, blood. Uzumaki Hyo had, instead of the natural Nara dark-colored hair, red hair now. Like Nara Hyo, Fuma Yukio and Keduin Akari were former root agents Naruto had absorbed on the same night he had taken in Danzo. They were now known as Uzumaki Yukio and Uzumaki Akari. Yukio was extremely talented in chakra threads, choosing another art over Kagutsu no Jutsu. Akari's ability was impersonation, Henge had nothing on her. Both women also had red hair now. The Uzumaki estate had a guard squad. Naruto had named the squad Soran. The squad's members were Momochi Zabuza, Kaguya Kimimaro, Kadamaru, Jirubu, Kushimaru Courier, Jinpachi Munashi, Amuri Rhino, Yakushi Kabuto and Karatachi Yagura. A formidable organization of 9 members with Yagura as its leader. The 11th Uzumaki clan member was a Rinne Tensei revived Uzumaki Danzo. Another thing Naruto was able to do was adjust body type and aging. His skills in Shizentuda were advancing. Danzo still had one eye bandaged, concealing his Sharingan eye. He had dark red hair and was most noticeably 35 years old. A lot younger than he previously was. He served as the advisor of Uzumaki Naruto. The Shimura Danzo talking to Tenzu was actually a Shinzui Bunshin. Naruto was planning on bringing into the Uzumaki estate the cult Haiden had been part of, but he was unsure on whether this was even remotely possible. Naruto had also used Rinne Tensei for Zabuza, Haku, Hyo, Yukio, Akari and Yagura. Ever since the clash in Kiri, Naruto hadn't used Shizentuda to absorb anyone. The event had been very traumatizing for him. At the moment, Naruto was in the lands of the monkeys. Kazan Naka no Mori, the jungle volcano. The truth. Is it uncomfortable for you here now? Of course. A sullen reply, but Kakashi could feel several surges of anger in his student's voice. My family wanted to rule over Konoha and planned to overthrow the government. But my brother betrayed them, sided with Konoha and crushed my family, his own family, before they even had the chance to do anything. And now you don't know how to feel. I don't really need someone to talk to, Kakashi. Sasuke clenched his right fist in evident anger. Actually, I wouldn't mind talking to Naruto. I haven't seen that clown for a month. Ah, yes. Naruto was hospitalized for quite a long time after his latest mission. Chakra poisoning and exhaustion, as you already knew. But he left a few days ago for a new mission. He'll be gone for at least 2 weeks. The two shinobi, one genin and one jonin, were waiting for the final member of Team 7. The pink-haired girl swiftly appeared. Anything I miss? Not really. Probably. Used to receiving nonsense answers, Sakura straightened her clothing. What's today's mission? Actually, I have received a request. A certain party is interested in you. We are heading for the Uzumaki estate. Uzumaki estate? Sakura eloquently repeated. Sasuke already knew. I guess I'll be seeing that other guy again. He had no recollection, memories, or even myths about this place before they entered it. And now, about a month in, the blonde was getting accustomed to insane temperatures in this forest. Inside a volcano. His human companion was less, but still quite uninformed about these sacred lands. He coughed once before he let out. I remember where we have to go when we finish business here. If you finish. The taller-than-even Jiraiya monkey, King Enma responded. Hiruzen's summon was leading the way. The task is not so easy to accomplish. They don't take too kindly to even us, let alone outsiders like you humans. If we have to fight, I will not hold back. Naruto darkly uttered. A damp jungle won't be a place where I will come to rest. Enma appraised the young boy silently. He has 2 bijou inside of him and a multitude of experiences and murders on his hands. The experience and the power he carries actually backs up his arrogance. Enma smirked though. But if the legends are true, Gorengeta was one of the reasons all fled from the Black Apple. Enma. Jiraiya's head moved upwards to see the faces of 3 huge orangutans looking down at them. What he had mistaken for trees before seemed to be their legs. How they so rudely addressed the king of the monkeys was also quite telling. All 3 of them also seemed to wear battle armor. Get the fuck out of here. Naruto noticed how Enma had turned anxious. That's Sanshizauzi. They guard the entrance to the true jungle volcano. Naruto, step forward and unleash potent chakra, if you could. From very high above, the 3 elite orangutan guards watched with disinterest how the youngest stepped forward with closed eyes and all 3 gigantic apes flinched at the feel of Naruto's chakra. Their surprise lasted for about a second or 2, as they were quick to school themselves. Interesting, it hasn't been that long ago when the other tried. Only the boy can enter. You 2 can still go and fuck off. The central orangutan thundered from above. Jiraiya and Enma both sighed, before Enma turned to Naruto. I've only been there once, many decades ago, but you'll have to enter the underwater volcano through the sea of magma, volcanic ash and extremely high levels of poison. The monkey summon put a hand on Jiraiya's shoulder to drag him away. He'll be back in a week or 2, or maybe not. There's a family in Kumigakure that we have been keeping our eyes on for a few years now. He was lying down completely tied up, blindfolded and chakra restricted, in a prison cell about a mile under Konoha. In a root base. After having been taken to Konoha and delivered to Ibiki, Shimura Danzo had stepped in and taken him away from the interrogation quarters after they were done with the former Konohanin. Uchiha Obito. While you were a disappointment as a Konohanin, you deserved the highest of praise dead. Now that you have miraculously revived yourself, perhaps you can be of use once more. Danzo started as he entered the prison cell, sending the man who was interrogating him away. I am Shimura Danzo, and I have an offer for you. You won't let me die, right? Came a weak response. First chance I get you will be seeing me take my own life. You realize this? The former Sanbi Jinchuriki. What if we found a way to revive her? Silence dominated the prison cell as Obito tried to register Danzo's words. Her. That means he isn't talking about Karatachi Yagura. Was this man truly talking about Rin? Was this man, known as Yami no Shinobi, goading him? Obito turned enraged, and immediately felt a small pulse of electricity zap him. Calm down. The Warhawk seemed very much pleased with Obito's emotional reaction. You are one of the very few names on the memorial stone I looked at with genuine respect. A most important piece of the board sacrificed to gain crucial ground against Uegakure. Obito was chakra sealed at the moment, but he could feel a jutsu being formed by Danzo. However, Danzo harshly continued. You sided with an enemy of Konoha, allowed important information and secrets to be spilled outside of our walls. You are a traitor of the highest degree. Therefore, I shall free you from this prison. Obito screamed in excruciating pain as Danzo slammed his hand on and over his face, chakra burning into it. And brand you with my curse seal. Ignoring the groaning and cussing from inside his mindscape, Naruto bit back a gulp of fear and tried to put on a more intimidating pose. He still looked mighty afraid. Kurama and Isabu had been bitching to him about constantly having to heal him because the magma and poison kept on burning his body, while the poison ash was doing a good job of melting his lungs. But that all went away completely when they finally came face to face with the thing they were looking for. I knew it was him. Shit on a stick. Was Kurama helpful input? Not him. The fright in Isabu's voice was palpable. Gorengata. They both let out in a fearful whisper. The creature before them bore some resemblance to their brother, Son Goku the Four-Tail, but this beast was much bigger than the Yonbi. Naruto's expression perfectly accurately mirrored their feelings. After finally reaching a cave under the poisonous water they were swimming through and walking miles through it, they reached what seemed like a whole other world. Another jungle, this one filled with purple-green smog, with the smell of sulfur permeating everywhere. It feels not too long ago. A huge dark purple gorilla, almost twice the size of even the 3 orangutans from before, towered above him. Magma, poison gas and poison glub seemed to ooze and roll off of him. When I saw another black apple descendant melt to death. I thought you said I fought like a fetus undeserving to be born. A short chuckle answered him. Truth is, you might serve well as decent cannon fodder. We are in need of some. Sakura was very much confused and above all, frightened. Wasn't this Momochi Zabuza? What was he doing in Konoha? Shooting a panicked look Kakashi's way, she only found the Jonin enjoying some nice Ika. And who was this gray-haired kid standing next to him? The pink-haired girl had also noticed that Zabuza's sword and the gray-haired kid's staff, both strapped on their backs, were colored a nice blood red. Nice to see you haven't informed your female subordinate, Kakashi. Zabuza annoyedly let out as he noticed Sakura's perplexed expression. Name's Momochi Zabuza, last time we met I tried to slaughter all of you. Naruto stopped me from doing so. Naruto? Sasuke looked like he was wasting time. Yeah, you know, that blonde asshole that goes about ruining people's lives? Yagura muttered coldly. As they were talking to Sakura, Sasuke was checking out Yagura in unimpressed fashion. This kid looked out of place standing next to that massacre-loving Zabuza. Anyway, we are a guard squad for this area, the Uzumaki estate. We are hiring and it's good pay. Zabuza changed subjects. Naruto suggested we ask you, Uchiha. The only requirement is rank Chunin. So you'll have to take the Chunin exams first. Why would I want to guard the Uzumaki estate? The Uchiha estate doesn't even have a guard squad. Sasuke was still unimpressed. Ah, yes. I do believe they do. They're called Anbu. Kakashi helpfully supplied. Although, I guess this was secret information. Why not just let the Anbu guard this piece of shit area too? The Uchiha drawled lazily, seemingly already turning away from the situation. Because the Uzumaki are more important. And Anbu squad won't cut it. Sasuke looked annoyed at this, but also slightly interested. Annoyed because Zabuza just called Uzumaki more important than Uchiha, which he will kill him for someday. And interested because, you have to be better than Anbu? He also part of this elite squad. Sasuke nodded to Yagura. Doesn't seem like you have to be particularly skilled. Kakashi nervously swallowed and hid his book, instantly sending an apologetic look at Yagura. It's not wise to piss off Kage-level shinobi. Zabuza snickered evilly and Sakura shivered as if death had just come to pay them a visit. The former Mizukage, Karatachi Yagura, simply pleasantly smiled at Sasuke. Ah, seems we haven't been properly introduced before. My name is Karatachi Yagura. I am actually the captain of the guard squad. Yagura paused and narrowed his eyes at the Uchiha. I'll be handling the interview. Killing intent. And a massive amount too. All positively, accurately and solely focused on his figure. Uchiha Sasuke couldn't move at all. Ah, yeah. Yagura is about twice as strong as I am, Uchiha. The demon of the mist seemed immensely amused. Well, shit. You pose significantly different, human. I suppose Kurama and Isabu color you confident. Be advised that a bijuu's healing comes with a price and they too, have limits. You were with Otsutsuki Hamura. Hamura-sama was my master, yes. He deserved my allegiance, his blood was much purer than yours. I am an Uzumaki. Otsutsuki's delusions. I know of a few. The Senju, Uchiha, Hyuga, Uzumaki, Kaguya and Shirai. Of course, all who wield chakra are somewhat delusions of the Otsutsuki. Delusions are weak, you will learn. Naruto inhaled deeply and closed his eyes, while holding his hands together at the same time. Kokunai Kinku. Gorengaita's massive form leaned forward in interest as Naruto's complete presence changed. His appearance had also changed, with dark symbols scattered all over his arms, legs and face. A curious appliance of nature energy, created out of urgency, I assume. Complete silence. Naruto started. I forced it upon myself as I was slowly losing sight of who I was. In turn, Kurama and Isabu noticed and encouraged me to push further as my identity was slowly ebbing away into a multitude of existence. Gorengaita's eyes were narrowed. A focus. I am Uzumaki Naruto. No one else. Very well. It seems you've seen through me. Gorengaita huffed, creating massive clouds of corrosive smoke. Let's see how many steps you can take, human child. The massive gorilla seemed intrigued. Perhaps you will learn how the Bijuu were truly born. I know, right? But that was definitely not him. Arc. Aburame Shino was very much used to his teammates' odd antics. The bug user simply continued his slow trek through the streets of Konoha, Kiba following after him in the same pace. I tell you, that had to have been an Anbu, Akamaru. But why would an Anbu have Naruto's scent? The subject was intriguing, so Shino chose to listen to the conversation between Kiba and Akamaru. The white dog was letting out barks in short succession. Yeah, I guess he did perform really well in the Chunin exams. Still, it's hard to believe Naruto is in Anbu now. Erasing presence and scent should most likely be a requisite for Anbu. As Uzumaki Naruto's scent is still detectable, we can effectively deduce he is not a member of the Anbu. Shino cut in. Perhaps a quarrel of some sorts? Kiba frowned and glared at Shino's back, not liking the sudden barging into his private conversation with Akamaru. The dog boy shrugged it away however. You mean you think that blonde idiot fought with the Anbu? Merely a possibility. The Aburame nodded. Familiarity can't be ruled out either. Perhaps he is an acquaintance. Thinking back on the Chunin exams where Naruto pretty proved he was much more skilled than previously shown, Kiba had to admit that it perhaps wasn't a stretch the blonde was in Anbu now. Perhaps he was scouted by Anbu. Kiba uttered slowly. He did show some serious power back then. A moment. Shino had stopped walking. I need not remind you I am incapable of smelling scent, but right now, my allies are informing me of an uncanny resemblance between that man's chakra presence and Uzumaki Naruto's. Shino's allies were obviously his insects. Kiba's eyes followed Shino's directions and his eyes landed on. His breath got caught in his throat. Both of them were from prominent clans in Konoha. They both were informed on important figures in Konoha. This man was Shimura Danzo. Both their fathers told them enough about this man. Using chakra to fill his nostrils, he confirmed Shino's observations. Or his bugs. You're right. He managed to breath out as the Warhawk continued walking away towards the Hokage Tower. He also smells like Naruto. Peculiar. Why would a member of the Anbu and Shimura Danzo both have similar chakra and scent, known to us as Uzumaki Naruto's? Shino actually put a hand to his chin. Perhaps it is best we ignore this matter. Wait, what? My father once gave me advice on my sensor and reading abilities. The taller boy started to explain. This advice applied to you as well. On friendly grounds, silence is more often than not the clever road. Kiba offered him a dry look. And on enemy grounds it isn't? If he was surprised Kiba understood so quickly, Shino didn't show it. Assumptions can lead to great regret. Perhaps an explanation will come to us in the future. Nagato. She hadn't heard from him for days now and she assumed her friend was on a mission, gathering information or even hunting down a Jinchuriki. But she would usually hear from him after 3 days. It's almost been a week and she was starting to worry. Yo, Conan. The purple-haired woman recognized the orange mask instantly, but also realized this was a different person from the one who always wore that mask. Who are you? Oh, you're perceptive, as I thought. I am not Toby, indeed. The mask seemed amused as Conan just remained glaring at him. You can call me Tanaga. Tanaga? She shook her head once. Where's Pain? And what happened to Obito? The demeanor of the man changed, with Zetsu taking over Yakusu's speech. Pain's in a struggle at the moment. The mask tilted his head. And I believe you can consider Uchiha Obito dead. Who are you? Conan knew something was off with the vocal change and was ready to fight this person. Fighting you won't be favorable for me. My body will fight me on all fronts should we take that path. Tanaga uttered snarlingly. Instead, I will tell you why you are Akatsuki's biggest disappointment, Shiju Conan. She involuntarily took a step backwards at that. You know my. Of course. The last record of any successful awakening in your clan was decades ago. You are an experiment. The Shiju clan was the only clan in history capable of being able to wield a fraction of the Mokutan's power. We had hoped it would awaken powerfully in you when we experimented on you with Hashirama's DNA. Unfortunately, all that awakened was a silly ability of paper manipulation. Conan was at loss for words. Surely, you've always wondered. Despite all the tinkering, you didn't quite reach the potential your blood carried. Realize that Jun knew Yahiko was also an experiment. Truly a shame he had to die so young. Tanaga turned away from the quivering woman. I have some matters to attend. Ugh, fucking Uzumaki are hard to keep down. Came a different voice, Conan noticed right before the man vanished through Kamui. Toby and Obito. Tanaga and Nagato. Conan's fists clenched. What is he? Materializing in his Kamui dimension, he released Nagato from his predicament. The Uzumaki was panting heavily as he fell to his knees in front of the white figure with the orange mask Yakusu and the black weird shadow Zetsu. You bastard! Zetsu held up a black shadow-dripping finger. Careful, Nagato. We have your Rinnegan now. He would glare, but Nagato was indeed without eyes. We stopped the bleeding and healed everything as best as we could. You're welcome, Nagato-kun. Yakusu cheered. You have little say left, Uzumaki. Zetsu started after silencing Yakusu with a gesture. Yakusu has one of your Rinnegan and can control the Mokuton Kekkei Genkai, whereas I have a Sharingan with Kamui ability and your other Rinnegan. But with your body it's all so much easier to control. Yakusu, shut up. Zetsu was really tired of Yakusu's spiller mouth. But it's true. Our bodies aren't exactly complete. We need each other to survive, or we take over other people's bodies and survive. You're an Uzumaki, your body would be perfect would it not be for your tenacity and willpower. We prefer to take over Uchiha bodies, they're a lot less of a hassle. What do you want? Well, it's easy. We take your body and gain the ability to fully control the Mokuton, Sharingan and Rinnegan, and then Konan gets to live. Nagato knew a lost situation better than anyone. You planned all this from the start? Nagato couldn't stand up because his legs had been damaged beyond control because of Hanzo in the past. The reason he could stand in front of Konan in Amigakure was because Zetsu and Yakusu could stand. You won't get away with this. Ah, but we will. Won't we, Tanaga? We're not allowed to set foot in Konoha outside of the Uzumaki estate without our masks on. Obviously. Kakashi supplied. You would be recognized instantly. Problem is, Zabuza wasn't too happy. There aren't any places to eat at in here yet. All the buildings are still empty. How will you get stores and establishments in here if only about 20 people live here? Danzo should have a plan for that. Patience, Zabuza. Yagura tried to reassure his friend. Kakashi had sent Sakura home after Yagura had kicked Sasuke unconscious during the job interview. The young Uchiha was currently slung over the copycat's shoulder. The 3+ unconscious Sasuke were heading for the biggest building in the Uzumaki estate. The building where everyone currently lived in. So the plan is to give Sasuke one of Obito's eyes, huh? Kakashi nodded to Zabuza. Yeah, Naruto believes Sasuke is still one of Orochimaru's targets. And the Kamui will be very helpful should Sasuke face Itachi one of these days. Giving him the Kamui should also tie him a bit tighter loyalty-wise to either me, Naruto, or Konoha. You sure the runt isn't actually hearing us from your shoulder, Kakashi? Impossible. Yagura answered. I forced him into slumber. Wow, you had time for that insane long hand seal sequence of yours. Sasuke must be as slow as a moving continent. He underestimated me. Yagura admitted. And he's extremely arrogant. It's easy to defeat and misdirect cocky people. Or manipulate them. The Demon of the Mist was of course referring to the whole Bloody Mist fiasco. Shut up, Zabuza. Too soon, Zabuza. The man shrugged carelessly. As about 5 people in the room suddenly popped into nothing but smoke, Danzo sighed a bit worryingly. I believe we all know he has probably gotten himself into a bit of trouble. The deactivation of Shinzui Bunshin means he's either close to chakra depravity or he's using his sage mode. Both are not welcome news. I have no idea where he could be. Kakashi let out as he, Zabuza and Yagura entered the room. The others in the room were the remaining members of the Soran. The 35-year-old Danzo eyed the sleeping Uchiha on Kakashi's shoulder with a bit of trepidation. He still believed Naruto was putting too much faith in the Uchiha boy, considering the distribution of one of the Kamui eyes currently residing in Kakashi's sockets. Didn't Jiraiya and the Monkey King travel with him? The copycat continued. They should be fine. And if it's Sage mode he's in, there's pretty much nothing surviving against him. Very well. Let's move on. The Warhawk turned Uzumaki conceded. Soran. Your mission is money. Kakuzu's death has left a hole in the market. Presumably Akasuna no Sasori will be all over it, so take over his share of the bounty market. It's time we put life in the Uzumaki estate. There's no life without dead bodies. We have to capture Sasori, but that will prove to be a handful. The man-turned-puppet does not eat, drink or sleep. We have to seal his movements. Danzo stared at the Nara-turned Uzumaki in the room. Uzumaki Hyo will prove vital in that department. A Nara with Fuinjutsu skills is a danger indeed. Hyo sighed. I've really got my work cut out for me. You guys and Naruto really are slave drivers. The dawn has broken. He could no longer feel the traces of chakra locking the areas around the village, and the rain no longer had any of his chakra in it either. Itachi wasn't too worried. Maybe Nagato actually went on a mission by himself. Rare, but it happened. Movement from behind him caused his partner to activate. HM. Now this is interesting. I wasn't informed you would be returning. Came a somewhat robotic voice, coming from the figure standing next to Itachi. Past clashings proved to be informative. Akatsuki is not a threat to me. The Uchiha regarded the new arrival warily, but with no fear. I trust you received my message, then. Sasori and Itachi both looked on as Orochimaru walked from out of the shadows. The three were currently on the roof of a small building surrounded by buildings towering above them and around them, effectively obscuring them from the populace of Amigakure. I did. You should know that as Kazekage, I am actually quite busy. Busy? I've heard that you're missing a Jinchuriki. Sasori quipped. The two kind of left on bad terms. And what of your daughter and son? Surely you're not going easy on Konoha. TCH. They seem to be several steps ahead of me. Sensei is shrewder than I realized. No records can be found anywhere on their whereabouts. The snake summoner was not amused. I even tried to infiltrate with several people specialized in the art, to no avail. Konoha has a censorine unlike any other. Months ago, he had sent Jugo, Suigetsu, and Gurin on a mission to gather information on the inside of Konoha. But they were discovered almost instantly after entering Konoha and had to flee immediately. Uzumaki Karen was now part of Konoha's security. Her mind's eye of the Kagura could see everything. I did not call for speaks of an alliance, however. Itachi started. You seem to have misunderstood. Orochimaru clicked his teeth. Annoying as always, Uchiha Itachi. There's no verbal fun with you around. Sasori and I were privy to this information, but the masked Akatsuki member was Uchiha Obito. He's either been captured or killed. Though his direct input was minimal, his lack of presence will surely cause ripples in Akatsuki. The ones who controlled him will probably try and hasten their ambition. Nagato is not the true leader of Akatsuki. If Orochimaru was surprised about Obito, he didn't show it. Or he didn't care. I had my suspicions about Akatsuki. The three orphans that Jiraiya picked up years ago couldn't become as powerful as this. Who is truly pulling the strings? He dared a glance at Sasori. No offense, Sasori. The puppet human didn't show any emotion, just staring at Orochimaru. Which in itself could have been considered a glare. I'm not too certain. Itachi put a hand to his chin. I believed I knew the threats in the world. To Konoha, you mean? Orochimaru thought. Akatsuki's information gatherer wasn't too sure either. One of their abilities is taking over bodies. Sasori supplied. Just like you seem to be able to do, Orochimaru. I've called for information swapping. I am unsure of the ongoings in Konoha, but I do know about Akatsuki. Itachi explained the reason why he called for Orochimaru. Why are you here? All three looked genuinely startled to find someone able to sneak up on all of them. Floating above them was a paper clone. Ah! That explained everything. They were without chakra, smell, or even genuine presence. But somehow it still carried Conan's consciousness. The question was of course aimed at Orochimaru. Pardon the intrusion, Conan. The snake summoner seemed amused as always. Itachi-kun wanted to meet with me. You haven't been here for almost a year. I must insist viewing you as a traitor to Akatsuki. Holding up his hands in surrender, with one hand holding his Akatsuki ring, Orochimaru also bowed his head. I apologize. I simply did not see eye to eye with the Akatsuki's previous leader. Who is it now, if I may ask? Conan's paper clone dwindled into nothing, not bothering to answer Orochimaru. She'll be here shortly. Itachi explained. The paper clone is a technique full of limits. But that was most definitely confirmation. The puppeteer in their midst interjected. With Kisame and Haiden missing, Kakuzu killed and Deidara still being somewhat of a rookie rebel here, Akatsuki is quite weak. This was news to Orochimaru. I didn't know things were this bad. I somehow doubt Akatsuki will remain weak, however. Your true leader's plans. If my assumptions are correct, things might turn drastic. He seemed intrigued. Who killed Kakuzu? Uzumaki Naruto. Itachi answered. His tone gave away confusion, though. What? That little Kyuubi brat from Konoha? Orochimaru turned away from them and put a hand to his chin. Interesting. What about Hoshigaki? Even I wouldn't able to defeat that man. Zetsu told me Kisame got cornered by a few misnin specialized to deal with him. Kaguya Kimimaro, Momochi Zabuzu An. I forgot the third guy's name. Sasori supplied. Zetsu hasn't been too forthcoming with information. Something has been off recently. Kimimaro-kun, ha. Clenching his fists, Orochimaru turned back towards Itachi and Sasori. Danzo's the one behind this, I am sure. It still got to the snake how one of his best soldiers simply abandoned him in favor of Konoha. That was too suspicious. Itachi was surprised to see Orochimaru angry. Danzo? That man always overcomplicates things. Orochimaru calmed himself down as he stared at Itachi. I saw your little brother, by the way. Itachi wasn't too happy with how Orochimaru changed the subject from Danzo to Sasuke. He's a compassionate one. Very surprising. The Uchiha didn't show any change on his expressions. I'll get to that eventually. This time Itachi changed the subject. I've heard about a meeting between the Kazekage and the Raikage. If he could, Sasori would have cringed at Orochimaru's chuckle. Yes, gullible, indeed. Quite unlike you, Itachi-kun. The Raikage is an emotional man. I believe you and I both know that when it comes to betrayal and treachery, emotions come first place. Ichin. As expected. I hoped otherwise, but I assume he's none the wiser about the entire ordeal. An emotional man easily manipulated. Sasori confirmed. A Sunigakure and Kumigakure alliance seems powerful. Even with Edo Tensei, Konoha will crush me and Sunigakure. Orochimaru admitted. It pains me to say it, but even with Kumigakure on my side, I don't feel confident at all. We will not be joining you. Orochimaru sked as Conan, the real one, entered the scene. I sure hope not. It should go without saying, but you Akatsuki are a group of backstabbers. I'll trust you in a coffin. Likewise. Conan glared at the former Akatsuki member. Pain. The purple-haired woman sighed as she turned to Itachi. It is as you said. The Nukenin from Konoha removed his Akatsuki robes and tied a different Hitayate around his forehead. Then I suppose we will make the next move. I can't believe we let Deidara lead this one. Sasori let out, though we probably would have liked to mutter it. Both Itachi and Sasori were now donning Uegakure headbands. Orochimaru looked intrigued. Who? You guys seem to be going to have a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed this what if and want to see next part of it, comment down below and let me know. Also share this video with your friends. See you in the next video.